In today's video we are going through the Merkava 3D experience, the new event vehicle at 10.3. We're going through general issues, the stock grind, and lastly the general performance and if it is actually worth it or not. Before we go into the stock grind experience, I want to talk about a general issue which I am a part of, and the fact that I'm basically an idiot and I am part of a very big problem. A lot of people just recently got the Merkava 3D, as you probably have seen in the matchmaker. The issue, however, is most people, or a lot of people, like I do not have any other top tier tank in the American Tech tree. The most stupid stuff is that me personally, I don't even ground out anything in the, well, American Tech tree just yet. So the Merkava was literally my only top tier tank with the F11 F1 Tiger as a backup plane. So yeah, that is a very bad thing. And this is probably the biggest problem with these grind events. I do not understand why Gaijin in such situations doesn't allow people to have two spawns in this vehicle. I know there is an option to buy those tanks with a backup, you know, for 180 golden eagles. However, right now, obviously this is not the case. You don't only have this one tank, and if you are again an idiot like I am, and this is just a general problem, you are going to be useless to your team in the first few matches and in the match in general. Why exactly? Because as soon as you die, you are out of tanks and have to leave the game. And this led obviously to to be honest, to hilarious amounts of winning and losing streaks for mostly Russian tanks, which are on the winning side, and losing streaks for the American and British tanks. So yeah, another problem I personally see with this grind is, well, you grinded around 44 hours to get this tank if you decided to not pay anything to Gaijibbles. Well, now plop on another 5 hours minimum to get the most important things in the modification screen. It kind of feels a little bit, you know, a punch in the gut. That is probably the best thing you can explain it for. And for people which decided to buy the tank on the Gaijin black market, please keep in mind, yes, obviously you are giving somebody else some money. However, at the end, Gaijin is the one which is winning, because for them, giving out a tank for Gaijin dollars doesn't cost anything, and you have, most likely, to put in some money to buy this tank. So it's kind of weird to me that, yes, it is an event vehicle, yes, it is not a premium, but it's still very weird to me that you have to grind so much else as well to just get the tank to a bearable place, you know, with the modifications. Then again, this is how Gaijin works, and we can be lucky that Gaijin decided to change how they are going to price those tanks in the sense of repair cost. As with the recent economy update, well, now they said reward vehicles or event vehicles you got for yourself shouldn't be priced too expensively, because in the end you grinded quite hard for them, and it's just another kick in the balls if they would just make a decent repair cost suddenly a lot more and you wasted a lot of time or even money into it. Those were the general grind issues. Let's move on to the stock grind. Oh boy, the stock grind. I guess this is something a lot of YouTubers out there, or I guess CCs of War Thunder kind of forget to show, because it is painful. Why is it painful? Again, for idiots like me, which only have the Merkava, you are out of tanks and you can't really carry the game anyway. So now you are stuck in a situation where you have a lot of other idiots like me in your team, and chances are you're going to lose a lot of the time, and losing equals a lot less experience earned. But yeah, obviously because of the previous changes, everybody has Heat FS as stock rounds. And this is, wow. Those rounds, they can go sucker wiener. it's absolutely atrocious to play with them, especially when you have to play against something like the T72B3 with its added protection screens on the side armor. A lot of the time, even if I was in a good position where I was able to surprise the enemy, like shooting him into the side, I simply didn't have a clean shot because of the additional ERA armor on the side, contact 5. However, I do have to point out I was a little bit too bad to aim properly, most likely, because I do think you can hit in between the turret and the hole around where the rotation mechanism is to penetrate with the Heat FS without, you know, bouncing. You can try to hit the lower plates of the T80 and the T72B3, however, it can also be a little bit hard to actually penetrate because there are some composite screens or there are some preventive measures to explode your Heat FS a little bit earlier. In general, I had no fun whatsoever with the Heat FS, and I was so frustrated to get it. Like, wowie. I did need around 33 games to finally get the APFSDS, and it is a game changer. However, I also want to point out that obviously until tier 4 modifications, you are not going to get night vision devices, or rather the thermals, which is in my opinion also quite a big upgrade from the stock experience, especially if you are very unlucky and getting into night battles. If you're in night battles, you're basically cannon fodder, especially the one which is completely night. I had a game where I literally was just driving into a wall or in a house because I didn't see where I was going because it was so dark. Yeah, I literally didn't see anything. To the sense, so dark, it was yikes. Yeah. Another part was that the parts were actually quite annoying to get. As far as I know, they were around 18,000 RP, and the problem is you are a tank with, well, in the front is your engine, your transmission, etc. And you are kind of a high survivability tank. So you desperately need the parts to try and survive this. Luckily, the parts and the FPE didn't took too long to get, but the parts still took quite some time to get. But yeah, I do want to point out 33 games until I got a good APFSDS, and back then I had 20 deaths and 18 kills, which is quite a bad kill to death ratio, I would say. And after that I was finally able to push it up a little bit with the good APFSDS unlocked and partially spaded the vehicle, or the most important things finally unlocked. I was able to edge out my KDA, or kill death ratio, from 56 deaths to 66 kills, being actually a little bit above 1, which is in my opinion something which isn't too bad. But yeah, the stock grind, it's horrendous. Now, finally, let's talk about the general performance. And again, I do want to point out it's not fully spaded yet. I have the most important things unlocked, like NVD, again, the APFSDS. Yeah, and I already have to say, it is quite a decent tank. The first thing you will notice is that it has quite high survivability from the front. Obviously you have the engine and the fuel tanks as well as the transmission, which can absorb quite some rounds. Another thing which I noticed with my setup of around 18 rounds or 15 rounds in my ammo racks, I basically never got one shot through ammo racks from the front, because your ammo rack is in the back of the tank and it can get hit by APFSDS rounds punching through your driver. However, because they aren't stacked that high, it is quite hard to get this. But if you are in a hold down position where you're only showing your turret, this tank will get an insane amount of survivability. Not only is it hard to kill all crew members with one shot from the front, because they are staggered quite weirdly. For example, your commander and your gunner are roughly on the same level, while the loader is quite far low on the other side of the gun breach, and your driver is even lower in the front. So I did not experience once to get crew knocked out from the front so far, which is very nice. However, from the side is a different story, because they are all roughly aligned, your 3 crew members in the turret, so just one APFSDS goes through and you are done for. However, you can also get one ammo rack from the side and obviously from the rear, because your ammo rack is in the rear, so keep that in mind. Yeah, in hold down situations this tank really shines and does show what it was built for, again, high survivability. It can also bounce a decent chunk of damage, and the armor is actually very decent against the Heat FS round, so if you are lucky enough to encounter somebody else trying desperately to unstock their tank and try to spade their tank and still stuck with stock Heat FS, you can bounce quite a lot of rounds. Not only is there a lot of empty space between some composite screens, as for example on your turret, but there also quite some thick NERA protection on the side of the turret and some even in the front, so it is a very good thing. And again, your driver can absorb something, sad for him that he dies, and the engine as well as the transmission are very good at taking out or absorbing Heat FS round. Now obviously if you are finally having this M322 round, the APFSDS round unlocked, it's amazing. Like, this round is absolutely fantastic. It is the highest penetration APFSDS round in the game, tied with the one of the Ariete PSO and the Centauro MGS, I think it is. And my goodness gracious, it is a blast.
Drop it.
Finally, if you hit the side of a T80 or T72, they are just gone. You are one-shot again, because if you have a decent aim, you're just going straight through the ammo carousel and must ba-boom. You see the lower plate of a T80? No problem. Yeet that round through the lower plate, kaboom! And there is nothing greater in this game when, after you're getting raped quite a bit for 33 games, to just finally give some punches back into those T80s and T72s straight through their front. However, I do want to point out, on the T80s upper plate you can sometimes bounce, but usually the round has enough penetration to even just go through all the composite and NERA and ERA protection without any issue. And from the front you can actually quite easily one-shot the enemy T80s and T72s, because they just have a crew of 2. And if you are not, don't forget, if they're facing frontally, shoot at the right hand side of their turret, or for you it would be on this side if you're watching me, because then you are hitting the gunner and then go for the other side of the turret, kill the commander, and they are done for. The mobility of this tank, well, it is okay, but you cannot really keep up with any other MBTs. However, I do want to point out the thing which I notice is the reload time is quite slow. Obviously I don't have an aced or experienced crew yet, but it doesn't have any autoloader, meaning that your reload is quite slow-ish pace. 8.3 seconds I have right now, and compared to something like the T80, which has 6.5 with the autoloader, yeah, that's quite a big deal. So you have to one-shot them, otherwise they will reload faster than you and kill you quite easily. Like, this is a very important thing. If you have the potential to one-shot the T80s, they do not really. And if you screw your shot and they screw your shot and you are in a reload time fight, you're going to lose in many cases. A little issue I noticed is the thermals having a little bit of an issue when you are aiming over the right hand side, because there is your exhaust, so you have, it's kind of a little bit weirdly-ish. You get used to it. It's the same deal with the Centauro, but that's not a big deal. The 7 degrees of gun depression allow you to have quite decent hill fights, and again, it's great for going in a hold down scenario where it's just show your turret. And in those situations, if you are a good player and know all those good hold down positions, yeah, you can wreck faces. You have very high survivability, as already mentioned, and it just feels like a blast when a lot of shots just bounce off of your turret because of the very steep angles and the quite decent protection. And obviously, lastly, the tank has a lot of MGs, great for taking down helicopters and some very lightly armored vehicles. However, you only have one 12.7cm gun, and the rest is 7.62, which is okay, but obviously it's not that much. It's very decent though to try to spot where people are, or again, shooting down helis. For jets which are stupid enough to just straight on you, come on, take your main gun and just yeet them out. Now, is it worth it? And here I have to say, I can't tell for sure if it properly works for 10.3, 10.7 setup in the American tech tree. However, I do have to say, after I finally unlocked, or after I finally got the most important modifications / upgrades of this tank, I had a lot of fun with this tank. You can survive a pretty decent chunk of damage. It is, sure, I would even argue it may or may not be a little bit noob friendly. Again, because of the higher, well, more survivability. However, the biggest issue is obviously you are most of the time getting out positioned. Like most enemy tanks, leopards for example, T-80s, they are far faster than you and they get in far better positions than you. So you have to keep that in mind, that you are one of the slowest MBTs around. But yeah, it is a ton of fun to spew around the 625mm penetration APF SDS and just yeeting through most armor screens. Sure, there are some you still can't penetrate, but some proper aiming shouldn't be an issue. So was the grind worth it? To be honest, not really. Why? You needed probably around 40 hours to get everything needed. And now you can buy it for around $70. So you basically worked for $1.75, excuse me, €1.75 per hour to get this tank. But then again, if you are a free-to-play player or even somebody which just likes to play War Thunder quite a bit, it definitely wasn't a bad deal to get this tank. And I do think for a 10.7, 10.3 setup, it is very decent for the American tech tree. But that is now everything I'm having for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comment section below if you enjoyed this video or not. This was the first time I did something like this in like a review style. Did you like it? Was there something you missed? Did you want to hear more? Let me know in the comment section below, because again, this is the first time I've done it and I am very open to suggestions. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the video and want to see more War Thunder content. Don't forget to see if it is War Thunder content with the black triangle in the thumbnail and most of the time War Thunder related keywords, while the World of Tanks related things are in red. Don't forget, I will doing both, and I hope this is not a big deal for you. My name is RagingRaptor from the heart of Switzerland. Thank you so much and have a great time. Stay safe and stay happy, I guess. Cheers. Or stay healthy, yeah, that's probably what I wanted to say because of the stupid crisis. Cheers, guys.